So let's talk about a man whose greatest weapon wasn't a sword, but his own sharp wit. A writer who used words to take on kings and cardinals. His name was Voltaire, and his ideas about freedom, well, they literally changed the world. Let's get right into it. No, really, think about it for a second. What's a single idea actually worth? Is it worth your comfort, your safety? How about your freedom? This isn't just some abstract question. For the guy we're talking about today, it was very, very real. And I mean absolutely everything. His entire life was basically proof of his belief that an idea, the right idea, was worth any risk, any punishment, any sacrifice you could think of. And that right there is the heart of his entire story.
Okay, so to really get Voltaire, you first have to picture the world he was born into back in the late 1600s. This was a time when speaking your mind wasn't just, a bad look, it was genuinely dangerous.
And we're not talking about a slap on the wrist here. The control was total. Just try to imagine living in a society where just questioning the people in charge could get you thrown in prison. That was the reality. That was the system that a new generation of thinkers was about to go up against. But then something started to shift. A new way of thinking started bubbling up, what we now call the Age of Enlightenment. All these new ideas were suddenly in the air. The idea that we should use reason, that we should question things instead of just accepting them. And this was a big one, that government should actually protect our freedoms. This was a complete 180 from tradition, and it laid the foundation for everything Voltaire would fight for. And right into the middle of all this change steps our guy, a man who would become the face of the Enlightenment's rebellious spirit. So yeah, let's meet the rebel himself. So he was born François-Marie Arouet, but the world would come to know him as Voltaire. And this wasn't just some cool nickname. By creating the name Voltaire, he was creating a public identity, an icon. The name itself became a banner for rebellion. And the man was busy. He was a writer, a philosopher, a playwright, kind of the whole package. But the one thing that tied all of his work together was this absolutely fearless refusal to stay quiet when he saw something unjust. And that last part, that's the key. It defined his entire life. So if you're going to take on a whole system built on silencing people, what do you use? It's not going to be swords or Karens. Voltaire's weapon of choice was something way more precise and, honestly, a lot more powerful. He fought with words. Now, this famous quote was actually written by his biographer to sum up his whole philosophy. And man, does it hit the nail on the head. Think about it. It's not just about defending your own right to speak. It's about defending that right for everyone, even the people you completely disagree with. That was a mind-blowing concept at the time. But Voltaire was smart. He knew that if he just directly attacked the king or the church, he'd be in a cell before the ink was dry. So he became a master of satire. He used humor like a shield and a sword, letting him poke fun at powerful people and criticize corrupt institutions without, directly accusing them. It was genius. His most famous book, Candide, is the perfect example of this. He attacks this philosophical idea of blind optimism by having his main character go through one absolutely ridiculous disaster after another. So he's not just telling you leaders are greedy or governments are unfair. He's showing you in this darkly funny way that makes you laugh, even as it forces you to think about some really ugly truths. But yeah, you can't poke the hornet's nest forever and not expect to get stung. Even with all his clever satire, a life spent challenging the most powerful people in the world, well, it comes with a pretty heavy price. His fight for freedom had some serious, life-changing consequences. The authorities definitely caught on, and the punishment just kept getting worse. First, he was arrested. Then he was jailed in the infamous Bastille prison. And finally, he was literally kicked out of his home country, exiled from France. But you know what? Even that didn't shut him up. He was convinced the fight was worth it. And here's the amazing part. Despite everything they threw at him, in the end, Voltaire's ideas won. The little seeds of free thought he planted grew into this massive forest of liberty that would outlive him and the very kings who tried to crush him. I mean, you can draw a straight line from Voltaire's desk right to the core documents of modern democracy. His ideas about liberty and reason were a huge influence on the folks behind the American and French revolutions. We're talking about things like the U.S. Bill of Rights. His fingerprints are all over it. It is so easy to just take these things for granted today, isn't it? But we have to remember, These were once radical, dangerous ideas. Freedom of speech, religious tolerance, the whole concept of a democratic government. These were the battles Voltaire was fighting. And lucky for us, these are the ideas that stuck around. So if there's just one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Voltaire proved that words have incredible power. He showed that one person, with nothing more than courage and a pen, can stand up to an empire and actually change the world. And that brings us right back to where we started. But now, it's your turn. Voltaire fought for the ideas that mattered in his time. So take a look at the world around you right now. What are the ideas that you think are worth fighting for today?